I'm investing £100 a month across 4 popular asset types on Trading 212 to see which one performs the best in 2026. This is my month 2 update of this challenge, and I'll go through all the results in just a second. But first, if you haven't signed up to Trading 212 yet, they're currently offering a free fractional share worth up to £100 to anybody that creates an account on the platform. To qualify, you'll either need to use the link in the description down below, scan the QR code that you can see on the screen right now, or just use code FELLAS once you have downloaded the app. Remember, when investing, your capital is at risk, and anything you see in this video should not be classed as financial advice. Okay, so just a quick overview of the different asset types that I have chosen for this challenge. I have chosen an individual stock, a diversified ETF, a commodity, and then a real estate investment trust. The ones that I have picked for each one is going to be Nvidia for individual stocks, the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF for the ETF, of course, the iShares Physical Gold ETC for my commodity, and then the land securities for my REIT. I will be referring to my phone quite a lot in this video, so that's not me being rude or half-assing this video. I just have a lot of numbers on here that I definitely don't want to be getting wrong. So with that said, let's go over just a brief overview of how well my pie has performed over the last month. So as you can see, over the last month, my 4 assets combined has returned me a 3.57% return for the month, which I think is actually pretty good. I think if you were to ask me if I would take that across my entire portfolio, even outside of this challenge every single month, I would say yes, and I would be a very, very happy man. But remember, we are just 1 month into this challenge. Investing is for the long term. We should not be taking any solid results right now. This is just an early indication of how things have been performing. But with that said, I'm going to go through each of these investments from the worst performing to the best. But before we do that, make sure you do pause this video and drop a comment on which one you think has performed the best over the last 28 days. If you've been keeping your eye on the market, you'll already know what that is. But in 4th place, we have the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF. Now, if you didn't know already, this is the investment that I actually hold in my own portfolio. I've got about £100,000 invested into this ETF. And over the last month, this fund has returned 2.32% in the green. But this is exactly what this fund is all about. It's stable and it's diversified. You will very rarely see this fund go up and down like 10 or 15% in a single day. It would have to be something really big that would either have to happen bad or good to actually cause this. And that's the whole reason why I have so much money invested into it, because it brings that stability and it has that diversification. Now, in 3rd place, we have Nvidia. Now, I actually think this is one that most people thought would be up the top there, possibly just because of all the hype around the stock at the moment. And this one is up around 2.68%. Now, there's a few things to talk about with this. Once again, nothing really has happened too much in the market. We haven't had any earnings updates from Nvidia for us to talk about that could really shift the price movement or anything like that. However, there is always that kind of overlurking conversation where people are saying, are we in an AI bubble? Obviously, if you weren't already aware, Nvidia has had a massive increase in its value over the last decade or so, and people are starting to talk about, is this stock overvalued? And I do think all it takes is a little bit of bad news and a big sell-off will come. But with that said, it is still going up and it finds itself in 3rd place of the challenge. Now, in 2nd place, we have Land Securities Group PLC, which is the UK REIT that I was talking about just a minute ago. And this is currently up 3.46% over the last month. And I have to admit, I don't really know too much about this stock. Neither do I have that much interest in it either. I just had to pick something that was going to represent the property side of things in this challenge. But just looking at the last month or so and just doing some reading up, quite a few things has actually happened with this stock compared to the other ones. Over the last month, they made a couple of different announcements, some around share capital allocation, and also says that a recent board change was announced with a non-executive director stepping down as well. And after doing a little bit more research, I've actually learned that as of late 2025, Landsec have actually been executing a strategic repositioning where basically they're selling their office assets and their commercial buildings, and they're focusing more on retail and residential platforms. And apparently this is all part of a multi-year repositioning that is going to influence valuations over time. But once again, just like the other two, I did try really hard to find some really interesting things to talk about with them, but over the last month or so, it has just been really steady and quiet. But don't worry, that does kind of change when we talk about number one. Even though it is number one, there's definitely been a lot more chat around this, and that's the iShares Physical Gold ETC, which is currently up 5.8% for the month. Now, unless you're living under a rock, you already know that over the last year or so, gold prices have just gone absolutely insane. And this was actually meant to be known as quite a stable asset, as it's usually classed as a hedge against inflation. And over the last kind of decade or so, or maybe even longer than that, you never really see too many fluctuations in gold's price, or not really many sharp fluctuations anyway. But over the last year or so, gold has gone up around 60 to 70%, which is absolutely unheard of for a commodity like this. And all of the other commodities similar to it, like silver, has actually gone up very similar as well. I think, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, silver has actually outperformed gold over the last month, which is absolutely insane. I'd never even think to have invested in silver in the past. Now, everybody and their dog is coming up to me saying, should I invest in gold? Should I invest in silver? I've got some spare copper. Should I go and trade that in? Which is actually quite a worrying thing as well if you're planning on investing into it for the first time, because I've always had this rule that if my mum approaches me and asks me about an investment, that is definitely a sign to get out, because that just tells me that it has just gone too far and there is so much FOMO involved. I remember when she asked me about Bitcoin, it must have been about a week or two later that the whole thing just came crashing down. So be very careful with gold if you are looking to invest into it. We are in a place where there is a lot of FOMO in all of these commodities right now. And in terms of my challenge, I still do not believe that gold will come out on top, even though it is currently on top right now. But yeah, just a summary of how all of these have performed over the last month. They've been very steady, which, as a long-term investor that doesn't really take too many risks, that's exactly how I want them to be. And if this can continue throughout the year, this challenge is going to be pretty easy and probably pretty boring. So hopefully something does change, and hopefully for the good as well. But that is where we are sitting at right now. All I have left to do now is add my monthly £100 split evenly across each of these investments, and let's see who comes on top in a month from now. Do you think it's going to be gold that is going to continue going from strength to strength, or do you think the wheels are going to fall off? Do you think Nvidia is going to have another surge? I think we have some earnings coming up as well very soon. Or do you think that the Vanguard All World Fund is just going to keep steady along the way and end up on top at the end, and none of these are going to outpace a diversified ETF? Either way, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.